Hey guys, I wanted to do a comparison video on the SCUF Instinct Pro versus the Razer Wolverine Chroma V2. I've had the SCUF for about 5 months of consistent use and the Razer for 2 years when it came out in 2021. So I thought it would be a great time to compare them and tell you which one that I personally like better. So I'm going to start with the Razer controller. Now the Razer controller, when it's in your hands, it's not anything special. It's cheap looking, it's lightweight, plastic, it's wired only, and it is what it is with Razer. Razer is not known to go for a premium looking controller. They are more concerned with the performance, which I get, but that's a big deal with people still. Just the way that a controller looks and for it to be wireless, which I really get, because we all want to feel like a badass when we're gaming, and Razer, they really did not give that for us with this controller. But I gotta say that they have made up for that in their paddle placements. So this controller has 6 paddles, which sounds like an overkill. And at first I thought it was, because 6 paddles, kind of unnecessary. But I have used all 6 paddles and my thumbs, they never come off the joysticks. So if you're a person who does not want to learn how to claw, then this controller could be for you. Specifically these 2 top paddles. These are the money makers for this controller. I cannot go back to not having these 2 top paddles. It's insanely comfortable. It fits like a glove. My index fingers, they naturally rest on these 2 top paddles. And then my middle fingers, they rest on these 2 on top, and then my ring fingers are at the bottom. To be fair, I can live without the bottom 2. Still nice to have. My main game is Apex Legends, so I just have this one as my email button, and this top one as my crouch, and this one for my jump. Again, I can live without the bottom 2. But it's these 2 on top that are the best for me. It's insanely comfortable. It has smart triggers that are just decent. It's not anything too crazy. But I just love this controller purely for the paddles. And it's done me good for 2 years. The only issue that I have had with this controller is this paddle right here. If you look closely, it moves around. It's become flimsy, and sometimes it doesn't even register. So I have to press on it twice, which sucks. But after 2 years, I'm surprised that's the only issue it's given me. Overall, great controller. So now I'm gonna move on to the SCUF Instinct Pro. And looking at it, it looks amazing, guys. I mean, let's be honest, SCUF is the controller that we have all wanted growing up. It has a great weight to it. It feels premium in your hands. Clean looking, wireless. I got the matte finish with the white buttons. It just looks sick. It's a great controller. For 5 months, it's not giving me any issues. I know that online, everyone pretty much makes videos on SCUF on their defects after only a few weeks or a couple months, but with me, that has not been the case. Maybe I got lucky, I don't know, but this controller has not given me any issues whatsoever. This controller only has 4 paddles compared to the 6 on Razer, and 4 paddles is pretty much the maximum that anyone needs. And I gotta say that these 2 paddles right here are pretty good for me. My only issue with this controller is the inner paddles, which is what I personally do not like. So what I mean is that when I hold this controller, my middle fingers, they touch the outer paddles pretty easy. But when I want to press the inner paddles, that's when my hand makes a jerky upward movement. And right now I'm exaggerating it just for this video, but that's what it feels like when you're in game. And the last thing that you want to feel, especially in a sweaty gunfight, is that jerky feeling. So that's why I just could not really get behind this controller despite everything else. If I'm a guy who only needed 2 paddles, I would choose this controller any day over the Razer. But because I don't want to claw and I like at least 4 paddles, that's why I prefer the Razer controller over the SCUF. It's just my preference. But other than that, it's a great controller that's done me well. It's just the paddle placement for me, and I wanted to get used to it so bad, but I just couldn't. And you know what? That's okay though. I mean, it's not for everyone, but great controller in my experience. I still prefer if you are a guy that only needs 2 paddles. So, having said that, like I said, I do prefer the Razer controller, and I'm gonna tell you specifically what sealed the deal for me on this Razer controller. So like I said, the smart triggers on this are not anything special, right? Compared to the smart triggers on the SCUF. I mean, it's way better than the Razer. But what I did, since my fingers, they naturally rest on the top 2 bumpers, what I did is I binded this left one for my aim and this right one for my shoot button. And once I did that, it pretty much changed everything for me. I know it sounds weird since this is not my aim, but once I did that and got used to it, it changed everything. Because again, in essence, this is my smart click. This is my trigger button. It's like a mouse click, like the SCUF. And this right trigger is my tactical ability, and this one is my syringes and shields. And I've gotten used to it, so now I can never, and I mean never, go back to any other controller. Even though this controller, you know, looks cheap and everything, I still can't let it go just because of these 2 top paddles. And that's why I prefer this controller over the SCUF. Still, both controllers, like I said, basically, if you're a guy who does not want to learn how to claw, I would choose the Razer if you can look past the cheap looking feel and it being wired. But if you only need 2 paddles, the SCUF could be for you. Just my opinion on them both. I still like both controllers. It just happens to be that the Razer fits more my needs. So that's the video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and you guys take care.